I wanted the stuff that's like, boom, hi, I'm here, I'm a flower, thank you. You're welcome. Howdy neighbor, how is your garden growing? Me, today in my garden, well, we're gonna continue our journey from transforming this garden from totally chaotic into a dream cottage garden. Today, we're gonna be working on one of my favorite things to work on, which is we're gonna be making a beautiful flower bed using our native plant. But unlike the typical wildflower gardens that I've done, which have gotten kind of out of control, today we're gonna focus on perennial wildflowers. Let's first answer for you guys, like which part of this giant overhaul project, where are we at in the garden? What are we gonna be working on? So in the giant chaos plan, we're gonna be working on this section. So the first project was we needed to get rid of those old garbage raised garden beds that just were falling apart. We've done that, which is this project right here, but now we're moving into the area right in front of them. So this space actually was a native wildflower garden before, and it at points looked absolutely gorgeous. It had months and months where I loved it. And it went into a place where, well, it kind of adds to the chaos that my front yard became. And upon reflection of like, why did it get so chaotic, is I had too many annual wildflowers in these garden beds. And the annual wildflowers have these amazing bloom periods, but then they tend to fade out. This time when I'm focusing on this project, I wanted to focus more on our perennial, long-lasting, gonna bloom huge chunks of the year for this section. If you're thinking, oh no, she's not gonna do some of these amazing annuals, I am. I have other places in mind where they're gonna be more contained. And so as they get kind of a little chaotic, a little bit crazy, we should even say a little bit wild, it'll be more okay. Because my big thing and my big sentiment, people are more okay with your stuff looking a little crazy if it's in a box. So let me just show you this space as we continue to talk. So to give you an idea, there's the front door, there's the window. Look at those beautiful new raised beds. Please ignore my shutter. That will be one of the things we have to fix. And there's Shiloh. Hi, Shiloh. But here's the space we're talking about. It's this strip right here that goes in front of the raised garden beds. You can see it has a natural border of the sidewalk, which we're keeping. That's not going anywhere. But then this is a whole lot of not looking great. Oh, look at these goldenrods. This is from the original project, the goldenrods. And last year you could see them, they were huge. And I don't think this is the right space for them because a lot of the year they looked beautiful, architectural, structural, but they also like to flop over a lot. And they were doing a lot of looking unique for a lot of the year without putting out flowers. So I want to move those out of here into a space where they can be more contained so that as they go through that architectural element, they still are like kind of have a very nice clear border. Also, because they get huge, they get huge. They get 5-6 feet tall. I don't really want them in front of the windows that we look out of. So I think they need to go to other space. That's one of the things with this space is I want to keep everything that's going to be like below 3 feet. Maybe if it ekes out into the 4 feet for part of its season's fine. But in general, I kind of want everything to be below 3 feet so that we're not blocking any of the windows. The other thing is that now that we got these beds that are wider, these two pots look crazy right there. So I think these need to move. I have an idea for all of our projects to just use this pot in a totally different location. This one is ginormous, it's heavy, it's got a gorgeous desert rose, which is not native in it, but with this space here swooping out, I think it's a perfect spot to just like move it in. Also, looking back at the old footage from a couple years ago when we put this first garden, all these pavers that made a beautiful path right here, I think we need to go back to that. And I think that will give this wildflower garden like some really good anchors of like, here's your border, and then you've got this about, I don't know, 20 feet long strip or so. And then this will be our wildflower perennial space all in here. And I think we should anchor it because you can see there's like this swoop out, and this swoop was really because there used to be a pine tree right here many, many years ago. It died and had to be taken out. But I feel like if we move this desert rose right here, it kind of anchors the spot and gives it a logical reason for swooping out again. And then we can put native plants all around here to fill in the rest of the space. So that's the general game plan of what I'm thinking. Keep it low, keep it generally with perennials that have like more long lasting, not this kind of huge seasonal shift, and anchor it with a nice paver path because that looked good before, and then anchor it with that desert rose. I'm gonna of course need Ben's help to move that desert rose because is so heavy. Oh my God. The pot's heavy. That plant is heavy. Most of the plant's underground. If you've ever had desert rose, it's crazy heavy. So we'll have to move that. But then we got a lot of space. So the first thing I need to do now is I need to just like walk it out and see about how much space we have. So the space is about 18 feet to 4 feet. And I'm only gonna stop at the last raised bed because that other area I'm considering part of the North Pine project that we will do down the road, because I think we need to consider that whole, from the trellis to the wall to the sidewalk. I wanna do that all at once. So I don't wanna really think about doing any wildflowers beyond that final raised bed. So we got about 18 feet by 4 feet. It's about 3 feet at the far end, it's about 4 feet at the, I just want to say, it's about 4 feet deep this area once we put those pavers back in, and it's about 3 feet deep over there. So we've got some good space to work with. So now the question is like, which plants do we want to focus on? We've mapped out the general spacing. My next thought is that, okay, of all, I've worked with probably over 70 different native species. And of the ones, which ones looked good throughout the year? Which ones had multiple blooms? Which ones like didn't go into a crazy phase? If they did, maybe it was only for a small part of the year. So I focused a lot on making just like a little quick list of what are the ones that I think could look really good and look good a lot of the year, because that's what I want for the space. And I came up with a short list, and they were, so blue-eyed grass. It doesn't bloom a lot of the year, but it has a grassy look the entire year. So for me, I was like, that's probably a good one if we just wanna, especially like once we put that desert rose, there's not gonna be a lot of space on this section of the perimeter. So I'm thinking maybe blue-eyed grass would be a good one. Purple cone flowers. I know a lot of people are like, when you think like cottage gardens, everyone does black-eyed Susans. For me, black-eyed Susans haven't bloomed a lot of the year, but it could also be because they were under the plumeria, and the plumeria, if you don't know plumerias, like that like classic Hawaiian tree with that they used to make leis, it in the middle of winter, it's like something out of a Tim Burton movie. It's just like a little skeleton thing. But then in the summer, it's this full umbrella canopy. So you go from like having full sun on a spot to full shade. So that's where I had my black-eyed Susan before. Maybe that's what drove it to be like, woo, in like February, March, and then as soon as the plumeria filled back in. That's my guess. But in other spots, I had things like orange cone flowers and purple cone flowers, aka echinacea. And both of these, native to my home state, they looked good and they bloomed on and off throughout. Even the heat of summer, they were throwing out some blooms, which was really hard where I live because I'm in zone 10. Other ones that I know looked good throughout the year, beach verbena, Stokes asters. If you don't know Stokes asters, they are gorgeous. They're like giant flowers. Oh my gosh. And they're pretty. They're just pretty. One that I had on my list, I have in another area, but honestly, like with what we're thinking of doing for that space, it's probably gonna be pulled out. I would like to see if I can work it in, which is ironweed. I've had giant ironweed, which gets really tall. But there is another ironweed that's native to here that doesn't get as tall. Like giant ironweed's like in that 5 to 8 foot range, and it like then flops over. So you need to have it like between other plants, and I did want to stay away from flopping over plants. But unlike my goldenrod, which gets huge, like huge width, huge height, this one tends to stay pretty narrow. So if I can get it mixed, if I can get an ironweed that's not as tall, aka the non-giant version, and I mixed it amongst these other wildflowers near some stuff that like has a little bit of height, like that 2 foot, 3 foot range, I think it'll be okay. And it won't be so massive. Like it'll just kind of poke up here and there, that like, even if it is a little bit much at times, like it's easy to get kind of back under control. That's my thought process. So of the perennial, like it'll come back, you plant it once and it just comes back and it comes back, I was like, maybe an ironweed. Also, one that like blooms throughout almost the entire year for where I live is starry rawsonweed. It's great. It's got like nice sized flowers. And that's one of the things is like, I also wanted to stay away from the wildflowers that had like a lot of like the little teensy little tiny things. I wanted the stuff that's like, boom, hi, I'm here. I'm a flower. Thank you. You're welcome. I was also thinking about those starry rawsonweeds. I think, well, one, we got rid of the big shade tree out the front that was causing issues. So the starry rawsonweeds up front have already started blooming, even though it's cold out and nothing else wants to bloom. I'm like, hey, let's put some starry rawsonweeds in here. And then who else am I missing? And then, you know, with the color palette, there is an annual that I was like, I would maybe for this one, just because of color contrast, maybe I'd give it for this one, which is dotted horsemint, aka spotted bee balm. Monarda pintata. It always reminds me of Hakuna Matata. It's easy to remember. So those are the ones I'm thinking about and I'm trying to work into my plan. And while I do use my planner, feel free to pick one up at wildfloridian.net/planner. Before I went and like started drawing, like first I just drew out the space. I like have Post-it notes all over the place with me, like just drawing different like shape things as I was figuring stuff out, because I was like, I don't want to put the official thing in here yet until I have like an idea of like where I'm going with this. But I think I've got something figured out. The question will be is if we can source all these plants, but this is the game plan. So what we're thinking here is, of course, we have our desert rose, which is ginormous. And because the desert rose is ginormous, we need to have something small and low that kind of anchors near it. I think, you know, the contrast of the green versus the terracotta pot, plus the desert rose spring, summer, fall, when it gets enough light, it's got these gorgeous fluorescent pink flowers. I think it's just going to be pretty to have the blue-eyed grass near the base of it. And yes, I did color code my stuff. I wrote the name over here and then I color coded it. So I'm thinking we do like 4 blue-eyed grasses around this circle part, the base. Also, they like a little bit of shade. And I'm thinking the desert rose, when we get into the summer and everything's obnoxious, might give it enough shade, might not. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see with this one if that's going to work out for long run, but I'm willing to try it. The next thing is that I love purple cone flowers, and I think just having a bunch of them near the pink would be pretty. So this purple triangle is like, ooh, here, get me out of this. Can you guys see now? Okay, I'm thinking we do purple cone flower, and in the middle we stick an ironweed. That's my thought process, because they'll have some height. This thing's gonna come up and through. If it flops over, it's got a little bit of protection. I think also because it gets those magenta purple flowers, it's a nice contrast against the fluorescent pink of the desert rose. It'll be pretty with the purple cone flowers. It's looking really cute. And around them in this triangle is, you'll notice there's a different shade of purple. That's Stokes asters. And I did the different shade of purple because they tend to be kind of that cool purple, which I think looks really pretty. So I'm thinking we put some of those, and you'll notice with a lot of this plant, I tend to work, if I'm gonna do even numbers, I put it in a diamond. If I do odd numbers, I will tend to put things in triangles. So it won't be too rowish, is the thought process. Then I'm thinking we get a couple bee balms, AKA dotted forest mints, right here in that big white box. And we put on either side starry rosamine. Because starry rosamine is a plant, just like Stokes aster, it's very low. The actual main plant is like down here, and then it throws up these stalks, and then boom, flower. So I was thinking, you know, the bee balm, until it starts, all the bracts start turning whitish pink later in the year, though sometimes they do it early, you'll be able to like support these pretty bold yellows. It might not be like the cutest, like I think it's gonna contrast really nice with like the purple cone flowers and all the other stuff. So, and I basically was like, you know what, we'll just anchor the space because they bloom throughout the entire year where I live. We'll put 4 of them to really anchor this, because in the winter then, that's in bloom, that's in bloom. And that pink stuff, oh, that Vitravina back over here with the starry rosamine popping up and through it, that will be in bloom. And then later in the winter, early spring, Stokes aster will be in bloom. So I think that'll give it some color. It'll be nice. It'll anchor the space. If you haven't seen the beach verbena, oh my gosh, so pretty. And then I think we do another diamond of orange coneflower. And if I can't, we'll do rudbeckia. But I know the place I'm going to, Sweet Bay, which is down in Parrish. It's on the south side of Tampa Bay. They have it on their list. The question will be, do they have it in stock? So that's what I'm going for right now. I've got my list, laid it out. The other thing that I want to try to go and do is, there's a lot of frog fruit and other stuff going on here. I really don't want the frog fruit coming through. I don't know what I'm gonna try to do. I'm thinking I'm gonna put some pine bark, not pine mulch, pine bark. I want the hard woody stuff to help suppress it out, but I don't know that it's really gonna suppress it out. So I don't know if we're gonna be like taking the pickaxe and trying to pull off this top layer, but I'm betting those roots go down really low. So we'll do our best to control it. But that's the idea, is then we're gonna put pine bark around this to give like some nice space as stuff fills in. And that's what I'm thinking. What do you guys think? I feel like this will be a good idea. But in order to be able to tell if it's gonna be actually really cute, we need to go pick up all the plants, which we got a lot of plants. Ooh, how many? 30 plants, oh my goodness. Okay, Well, let's go pick up lots of native plants. We're back. It's been a few days. We got all the plants here. I've organized them, made sure that I know which plant is which, especially right now since so many of them are just leafy things, and it would be too easy to confuse my orange cone flowers with my purple cone flowers since there are 0 cone flowers at this point. So it is time to start getting this project going. Before we start planting anything, one of the first steps I want to do is I want to do a test to see if I can get some of this frog fruit out, because once we hit the warmer season and stuff starts, I was gonna say moistening up, but once it starts really rainy, that frog fruit's gonna get a lot taller and it can overtake some of the plants, and we don't really want that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna see if we can get some of it out before we plant into it. So let's go try that out. Oh, this isn't so bad. Actually isn't bad at all. Huh, okay. So that test was really easy actually. The frog fruit and what is this Asian, it's called Asiatic dayflower, that's invasive. They came up actually really easily, and the soil's looking really good right below it. So I think it would be pretty easy to kind of peel this layer off at this time of year, which is good because this one, especially the frog fruit, which is not that one, this stuff will take off more when it's warmer out. It kind of goes, it's not dormant because obviously it's alive during the winter time where I live, but this one we can definitely see if we can get it out of here, which will be good because then it won't take over the area. We can take that out. We're gonna actually take these 2 goldenrods. We're gonna repot them for right now because they'll get relocated for another project. Oh my gosh, there's a caterpillar over here. And that's the next steps. So right now is just kind of clean up the area and then get it ready for relaying the paver path and getting these plants in. so we got that strip cleared out where we're gonna plant the plants, but there's still a bunch of frog fruit where we're gonna put the pavers, and what we know from experience from before is it will grow up and over the pavers, and while Ben and I can weed whack it, it'll jump back this way too. So we will clear out this path. I just wanted to have like a clear line and get a sense of how is this whole process. If you're wondering what I'm using, that's called a mattock. You might also think of it as like a pickaxe, though it doesn't have an axe function. It's technically called a mattock. Okay, so Ben's here. He's helping me out a little bit, help me clean up the area. So what we did is we got that frog fruit out. Honestly, not a very deep root system, interestingly enough. And what we're doing is I'm starting to even out the area because it's of course very lumpy from using the mattock. So we're just evening it back out so that we can start setting the pavers. But honestly, we're not gonna put the pavers first as much as we're just gonna like put a little placeholder closest to there so that we can move that giant desert rose pot into place, and then we can put the pavers in, place the plants, and then start digging a million holes. So in this space where I set the pavers, I know there's a sprinkler head right here, so I want the pavers to come to like right here. 1, 2. Okay, we just swept the edges so we can see them better, since it's a little hard to tell when all the dirt's there. So from the plan, it's about 2.5 feet in by 2.5 feet in is kind of where the pot center goes. So I'm gonna walk it out, mark it, and then we'll see if that looks like it makes sense. Well, that's pretty good. So we have the path done. Now we got a really clear border. I think it looks really good. I feel pretty proud of myself for not being someone who professionally makes paver patterns. I feel like I did pretty good right there. Okay, so let's take these plants and start placing them based on our plan. All right, so there's our plan right there. And here is what we're gonna go ahead and put in the ground. What I did, only thing I changed from the original drawing is there was supposed to be a Stokes aster here, but I think that's gonna end up crowding that path too much. So I just evenly spaced the Stokes asters. One of the things I don't think I mentioned, you guys, is the ladies at Sweet Bay and I were having a long discussion and joking about how can you really tell the difference between beach verbena and Tampa verbena. So to note, these are Tampa verbenas. These are beach verbenas. We will see if there's anything actually different about them. But in general, they're gonna look pretty much the same. So that's what we got going on there. And everything else is pretty much planned. The only other thing I didn't do is I didn't get 3 dotted horse mints, AKA spotted bee balm, because generally they kind of looked not happy. And if I want ones that look happier, there's some like just growing wild in here that I can just transplant before we do this project. So we're gonna take that one and just put that one in the ground right now. But now is the time to dig many, many, many holes and get that mulch in place so that we can call project 2 done for transforming this insane garden from chaos into a cute little cottage garden. So let's go and dig the holes. We did it. We're done. Look at it. It looks so much better. Would you agree? It no longer looks like chaos. We're getting to a point where it looks like an organized cottage garden. Because I feel like we're heading in the direction. I'm excited about this. If you're excited about this and you want to see the whole journey, you want to see all the projects and the planning, go ahead and check out this playlist right here. It goes from the ideas, how I got to the ideas and plans, all the way through to all this project and all the others if they're done by now. Okay, I'll see you soon. Bye.